Our next guest show has
no, let's do it together. Our next
guest show has so many multiverses. I think we're technically in one right now. You nailed it, Carlos. You nailed it.
Nailed
Welcome, Danielle and Carlos.
Thank you
so much for coming by IGN.
Thank you.
Of course.
So you guys are a couple weeks into filming The Flash. You can't tell me anything.
That's
I'm going to try
correct.
and get a little bit out of you guys anyway. What's life like without Barry Allen? You just never see Grant anymore?
Life is sad.
Yeah.
And empty and lonely
And slow.
and miserable and slow.
A lot slower this year. No more speeding around.
Yeah, not a lot of action going on actually, except for the fact that the team, more specifically Kid Flash and Vibe, are out there in the field, you know, trying to keep Central City together in the wake of Barry's disappearance. But you know, in spite of that, there's something missing. There's something very critical missing, and that's that sort of sense of central leadership that Barry provided. But you know, Cisco might have some tricks up his sleeve.
I'm really excited about this idea of Kid Flash and Vibe teaming up and being
Yeah.
like the dynamic superhero duo. I'm very curious though, because Barry did go willingly into the Speed Force. Is there like a quest to try and save him, or does everyone sort of have the general understanding like he chose this path and now we have to move forward without him?
The latter is definitely a lot more of Iris's point of view. She's, you know, she is dealing with a lot of turmoil with regards to his leaving and his sort of making that decision without her. And so she's definitely grappling with that, and her way of coping with that is to just accept that he's gone and try to move on. But naturally, as is the nature of television, she runs into some obstacles.
Danielle, Caitlyn transitioned sort of fully to Killer Frost and accepted that last year, which you played so beautifully. And I'm curious, like, what is so interesting to you about moving forward from that with Caitlyn sort of trying to find this balance of being a hero and not going fully villainous, I think, this year?
I don't know that they're done telling that story, to be honest. I think there's still some interesting things. You know, we don't know where Caitlyn is and where she's been for the last 6 months, and if she is Caitlyn or if she is Killer Frost or what that looks like. So I think it'll be really interesting when you come back season 4 to see where she's been and what she's been doing.
Yeah, Danielle got the short end of the stick this year in terms of answering questions.
They're like, you
She's,
can say basically nothing.
Yeah,
Nothing.
here's your log line. Here's your one line to read.
It was one sentence, and I called Todd, and I was like, really? That's it? Cool.
But I'm so curious. I mean, sort of like we were talking about with Barry, that he chose to go into the Speed Force. You know, Caitlyn made this decision to be Killer Frost, to go off and find herself. So how much is Cisco going to be able to accept that, or is he going to still want to try to save her this year?
I think just like Iris is sort of grieving in her own way for Barry's terrible fate, I think also Cisco is, there's definitely still a part of him that's missing, you know, his counterpart, you know. I think Caitlyn's been like a sister to him, you know, and so I feel like he definitely misses that dynamic. So
I miss that dynamic.
Really? Like in real life?
Yeah, always.
This is
Here,
real
we're making
love
it happen right now.
Guys, you know, this is why it's
Real.
so easy to work with these guys. You know, you just fall in love with them. How can you not? I mean, look at that face.
This guy.
I know.
You're like, yeah,
That goes
I got
without
it.
saying.
Yeah,
I got
obviously.
it. Do you feel, I mean, since everyone is splintered a bit this year, are you feeling sort of that lack of that original Team Flash dynamic? Or what has sort of come up in the absence of that when you're shooting?
I have to say, I think our cast is actually a little bit smaller than it's been in years past. You know, last year there were a whole bunch of us here at Comic-Con, and you know, it's I like the way season 4 is going.
Yeah, it's been pretty chill. Mostly because, you know, we sort of know what story it is we're trying to tell, and also because we're kind of revitalized at this point. Because our show's sort of rebooting this season, you know, we're going for a much lighter tone. We're definitely going for more of the funny, dynamic color that made our show such a success in the first season, you know. And I think we're pushing that levity pedal into overdrive.
I love that. Means
times.
that you have a lot of quips, I am sure.
Yeah, but you know, it's not just me. You know, even though I get the, you know, gift of being the comic relief in practically every scene, and I do such a great job at it.
He does. He does.
You know, some of our coworkers at Star Labs will also get to share that load as well, and
Yeah.
it's funny. You know, it's nice to get to interact and play with that comedic dynamic with everyone. You know what I
And
mean?
there's not a Speedster villain this year for
That's
the
right.
first time. That's
for the
really
first time, you talked, we listened. You know, sorry. What?
Well, no,
What is
no,
the Flash going to be without a super fast
I
speedster
know,
to go
right?
up against?
I know.
No, well, that's my question. That's it right there. Like, how does that sort of change the show? I don't want you to give away who the
Sure.
villain is, what the threat is, but how does that change the feel of the show?
Well, I can tell you right now, we dropped some hints last year, especially with the name DeVoe. Yeah, that's right. We got a
picked
little
up on it. We noticed.
That's right.
We put our thinker caps on.
That's right. That was not subtle at all. Not subtle in the least, actually. You should work on that. Yes, a little Clifford DeVoe action.
Yeah. How does that change the show, knowing that it's not only Barry who can fight this person, you know, everyone else can team together. You don't necessarily need a speedster to fight another speedster, even though obviously Team Flash had a huge role in every other villain who we had. Not trying to undercut that.
I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to give the different members of Team Flash an opportunity to stretch their wings and to really contribute in a different way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I can't wait to see what you guys have cooking.
Me
You
neither.
did such a good job with that one sentence, stretching it out. You had many, many amazing, wonderful, teasing answers. Thank you guys so much for coming by IGN. A lot more coming up soon, so make sure to stay tuned here at IGN Live at Comic-Con.